to the administration and said, look, I can't give you that, but I can give you this.
Well, Mr. Sullivan will be testifying later on, so we'll ask Mr. Sullivan if what exactly it was that they
Mr.
asked.
Sullivan is not, I don't think Mr. Sullivan is in the room.
I thought you said he was going to testify later on.
Here.
So when he testifies,
He
ask him.
testifies on the amendment. Well, he'll
Mr. Sullivan's
testify
right
on the
there.
amendment. Yeah, I know he is. He'll testify on the amendment. You really think Mr. Sullivan is going to get up, if he knows, and tell you what the county executive is negotiating with?
No, I think what you just asked me, what our number, what we were willing to do. And I told you, we were willing to try to be part of the solution. We can't be the whole solution. We are not running the county. We are your workers. We're your workforce. We're not running this county. We're not management. That's your job to do that.
You should be aware, you all should be aware that NIFA will be here until the NIFA bonds that they issued are retired. That's 30 years in some instances.
Not a control period, Mr.
The
Schmidt.
big match board in New York City is still there.
Yeah, but as an authority, oversight authority.
Understood, but my point to you is that they'll be right there looking and ready to come back into a control period if Nassau County slips into the old ways. This is the borrowing is, again, the borrowing is.
But you continue to say the ball is in Labor's court. You continue to make it look as if it is our responsibility to manage and fix a $330 million deficit, and that's not realistic, Mr. Schmidt. That's impossible.
$150 million is half. And I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you in one respect. You know, somebody mentioned, one of you mentioned about shared sacrifice on everybody's part. The ordinance employees here pay for towards their health insurance. Do you know that?
Yeah.
They pay for their health insurance already and have for years. So when you talk about the shared sacrifice, they have.
But you don't do that in midterm of a contract. You do that during a contract. The state pays 27%. They didn't do that in the middle of a contract. They did that during negotiations. That's how it works in this country. You sit down and negotiate. You don't have a dictator say, I'm going to do it, and just take it, and furlough you, although it's illegal, and take what you want. That's not how it's done in America.
So the idea is don't talk to the administration. Let's close our eyes. We will not engage in any of this, and we'll just go over the cliff.
No, we don't, listen, that's not true. See, that's semantics, and that's the problem here. That's the spin fund. That's why I said what I said, that I'm disappointed in this side, because the spin that you're doing is you are placing the entire burden on our shoulders.
Not true.
Well, you almost said it about 5 times already, so I think it is true.
150 million is not full burden. The full burden is 350.
So here, bond that.
It's what you do.
And we're asking what's Mr. Mangano and what's Mr. Schmidt doing. You put in your salary line an $800,000, your budget has $800,000 increase in staff for legislators. Is that fair when you want to lay off 700 people?
I was going to address our budget when we came to our budget, but
I have to do mine now. I'm not going to be part of
I'll
that.
tell you now, the budget of the legislature, when the budget was proposed by the county executive, the budget of the legislature was cut. The county executive does not cut or increase the budget of this legislature. This legislature cuts or increases its budget. So the budget is being restored to last year's level, and then we're going to cut it. And that's a real sore point with me. We're going to cut it. It will be cut, and it'll be cut enough to bring in what everybody else is bringing in to have the shared sacrifice. But we will do it, not the administration.
Okay, but Mr. Schmidt, you see the townships, right? The town of Oyster Bay, for example, okay, they have a Republican-led government, and I live in the town of Oyster Bay, and let me tell you, it's a great place to live, and they do a fantastic job there. And they have incremental tax increases every now and then, but they also have fantastic services, and when they have to get together with labor, they do it in a different tone. They don't threaten, they don't intimidate, they don't say we're going to extract, we're going to take what we want. They sit down and talk to labor, and you know what? Working for the town of Oyster Bay is good, and living in the town of Oyster Bay is good. Working for Nassau County stinks. And let me tell you something, everyone thinks that we're the problem. No, we're not the problem, but you are painting us to be the problem, and it's really getting tiresome. We've had enough.
We don't talk to the unions as far as negotiations. It is prohibited in the charter. I've told you guys this a dozen times. I don't know what went on in the previous administration, whether the former majority was active or not. I don't know that. I don't care. The fact of the matter is that the charter says that the county executive, and only the county executive, negotiates contract. I'm not gonna interfere with that, even if I could.
But can you at least take a seat, you have a whole weekend here, at least, when you say that the Democrats' proposal is DOA, basically what that tells me, and I think you were quoted in Newsday saying that their proposal is DOA, what that tells me is you're discounting 8 legislators and their constituents. You're not interested with anything they have to say, nor the residents of Nassau County that live in their areas, because you are not, it's DOA, meaning it's done, it's dead on arrival. You didn't even look at it.
I will tell you exactly what I indicated to the press. That I spoke with the controller, I spoke to some financial people, and they indicated to me that it would be a disastrous move, and I'm gonna have Mr. Sullivan address it when he gets up. A disastrous move to go into the county's reserve fund. That being the case, if you take out all the county reserve fund, it all goes,
$450 million.
Yeah, I told you before, you'll be recognized. It all goes out the window. The amendment
I get
doesn't
that, Mr.
stand.
Smith, but before you start laying off another 700 people,
You say
you don't
me
think,
again, it's not
it's
me.
$51 million that, in your budget amendment, is $51 million slated for layoffs. That's what I got out of it, reading your amendment. And then another $80 million on top of that. And then another 4-year wage freeze. You think that's attainable or realistic? That's pie in the sky. This budget's doomed.
It's indicated to me that the item refers to concessions, furloughs, or layoffs. How we get there is in your
What, the
court.
51 million, you mean?
The whole thing.
That's 131 million.
The whole thing, exactly. That's why I say the ball is in your court. The question is, as far as I'm concerned, I hear what you're all saying. The question is, do we make concessions to save jobs? That's in your court. And that's something you
That's
have
like
to
telling me if I can
discuss with
climb up the
Matt.
side of the Empire State Building, I'll live, but if not, you're gonna shoot me in the head. It's not gonna happen.
If Mr. Sullivan was to go into the county executive in those negotiations and say, look, it's $25,000 a man, I got guys making 30 grand, it's unattainable, but I did get this. Maybe they could work something out, I don't know. Just to say, no, it's unattainable, we're not even gonna try.
No, we are trying. But it doesn't matter what we try, because whatever we give them, they said they're gonna make up the difference in layoffs. So if we offer a $40 million savings pool, then that means $110 million is gonna be in layoffs. Either way we do it, we're doomed. Plus we're frozen for 4 years. Who the hell's gonna do that? What kind of a label? You don't need to be a union leader to bring that back to your members. I could be anybody in my union could come back with that deal. I'm trying to work out something that works for all parties. But because of the agenda of this side, we can't get past that. I believe that, that's my opinion. I'm sorry, that's how I feel about
Senator,
it.
you would ask to be recognized, I believe? Yes, Mr. Finnis.
My first question is, how do you like negotiating against yourself?
Well, that's exactly it, you know, I have to put the bullet in the chamber and then hold the gun to my own head.
So the 51 million, let's just, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Learned talked of the amount that have to come from their unions in terms of how much per worker, which to me, Gary Learned said 30,000, Mr. Sullivan said 21,000. What is 51 million coming from the CSEA after you've endured layoffs this year? You've endured how many years a row of zeros? You're looking at 4 more years of zeros now. How much does 51 million come out per worker? That we're asking from the
On the
average,
amended
the
one,
lowest paid workers.
on the amended Republicans' amended budget, that 51 would be roughly close to 700 more layoffs. And you have not a department in this county would be able to function that I represent anyway.
But to come up with 51 million, how much would that be per person?
$12,000 per man. No, I'm sorry. I don't know what the 51 million would be. If we were to enter into negotiations to solve the whole 131, our portion of that was $62 million. So basically, that would be $12,000 per person. On many people, I know that they
I
say
think
the average
is like 50.
well, the average
not
is about 60,000, but that's misleading. We have 800 titles in Nassau County, so it's hard to judge. If you look at the median income, it's about 54,000, but that still doesn't mean we have hundreds of workers that are in the $30,000 to $35,000 a year range. You have to consider them because we have such a large, diverse union. It's a misleading way of doing business. When you start throwing out, averages that include pension and health